Welcome back to another epidose of these guys who just eat meat and occasionally drink too much coffee. Today we're talking about coffee and one of the effects it has. And is coffee really carnivore? What says you, Beavis?
Copy. I am the great Congolio. I need TV for my Mongol. You challenge me? Copy. So yeah, I that is me when I actually drink coffee. I
Pretty
have
much.
very similar effect to Beavis from the great show Beavis and Butthead. Um, and yeah, me and coffee, I will go and start talking a mile a minute. I can't shut up or slow down. I'm very hyperactive. I'll be bouncing, or any of the videos where I'm like this the entire time, I've probably had coffee, or I'm just continually talking, which I'm already a talker. I can already talk a lot, but with coffee, it's like, taking the dial past 10.
Yeah. Yeah. So coffee's definitely not carnivore, but of course, like anything, people bring stuff with them from the rest of their life when they start something new. And even though we think a carnivore is almost a lifestyle, more of a lifestyle than a diet, shall we say, for the sake of comparison, lots of carnivores still drink coffee. People tend to gradually give it up. Um, I mean, obviously, a lot of people drink coffee for different reasons. They uh, need some energy or whatever. They want having trouble waking up, or the caffeine will do that for you. Some people use it to regulate their bowel movements, we hear all this stuff. But believe it or not, some people drink it just because they like the taste of it. So I personally, I think if somebody's meeting all their goals and get what they want out of carnivore and they're still drinking coffee, why not? And of course, one person has, 1 4-ounce cup of coffee here and there. And some people drink giant tumblers of it all day long. So there's quite a gamut there of top micro topics just in the coffee arena. And of course, a lot of people like to put sweeteners or creamers in their coffee, or MCT oil or butter or whatever. So those all have different effects. MCT oil, of course, comes from coconuts, typically not carnivore. Cream would be considered carnivore, but I mean, if you tolerate MCT oil well, why not, right? I mean, I've used it in the past, particularly when I was keto, and I liked it. I like that little sort of the MCT
Kick.
oil kind of gives you that. I don't know. It's kind of neurotropic, right? I mean,
Yeah, you kind of your brain, like that movie Limitless a little bit.
yeah, but of course you can only have a little most of the time because it will go right through you if you have too much. So yeah, I get it. I get people like that. Maybe they have some other reason. And then of course, if you're putting fats in your coffee like MCT oil, butter, and cream and stuff like that, then you're getting more fat in it. Typically, when you drink fat, uh, it tends to not be quite as satisfying as like when you're eating fat in meat. So you could potentially overeat the fat and get a few extra calories you didn't want. That being said, a lot of people use it as leverage to suppress the appetite because coffee is an appetite suppressant. So if you're trying to get food in, probably a bad idea because you're going to want to eat less food when you're drinking coffee. And you add some fat on there. A lot of people use that in the morning. It's that kind of bulletproof coffee concept where you have that in the morning and you skip breakfast and go all the way to a late lunch sometimes, or even dinner without eating. And some people use that as a method to lose body fat because you're just taking in fewer calories. Of course, that could put you in a protein deficit as well. So, it's a bit of a minefield, but it's out there and a lot of people do it. And I think at the end of the day, we got to remember that caffeine is essentially a pesticide. At the very least, it's a deterrent for human beings. If you ate a bunch of coffee beans every day, you'd probably be pretty sick. And that's why the plant produced those chemicals, because it helped it survive in the wild. you know. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any really long-term consequences to the coffee. I know some people have had problems. In general, it seems like people tolerate it really well. Um, and that's assuming you're not overdoing it, right? I mean, what are your gut feelings on the coffee issues?
Yeah, so I just want to point out a few things. It's relatively high in oxalate. You know, you got to worry about polyphenols. You got to worry about, I think there's even some phytic acid in it, if I remember correctly.
I believe there
Um,
is.
which can, so basically what we're talking about is anti-nutrients. And so a problem with the bulletproof coffee, or maybe not a problem, but just an awareness, is, you know, you might be trying to absorb the fat or nutrients, or trying to do an egg. You know, some people will do a raw egg in their coffee, and it could be quite possible that you are negating your body's absorption, or at least making it more difficult for your body to absorb those nutrients due to the anti-nutrients in the coffee. There's something like over 400 chemicals in coffee. Actually, it's just natural coffee. Um, and on top of that, you know, pesticides or whatever are used to grow the coffee, depending on where you get the coffee. Some sources are more cleaner than others. You know, organic. That whole discussion as well. Um, I think my thing with it, the thing when I approach it, is just to let people know that there is no net benefit to coffee aside from uh, having to drink it because you don't want to suffer coffee withdrawal.
Oh, there's
And
that too, right? People get headaches from not having their caffeine, right?
right. And then the other is the stimulant effect, obviously, you know. People, it's their wake up, it's comfort, but biologically speaking, there is no um, super nutrient or anything like that in coffee. It's toxic overall, to the human body, just like all other plants. So there's
Yeah.
nothing special about it. And, it just comes down to that level of sensitivity. I think I keep saying this. I know I've said this forever. I keep swearing it off, but I keep getting drawn back. And then I get a headache a couple of days after drinking it. But another issue with it is when I do drink it, I feel like I need it. So the night before, I probably didn't sleep well. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, yeah.
So
Right.
it's probably is a bit of a surprise to my body because I don't drink it regularly anyway. So it's having to work a little extra, to detoxify after drinking the coffee. Um, but that's me. Other people, like Tom said, they can drink it and they seem to do just fine. But like we talk about with a lot of things when we do our coaching with people or talk to people about carnivore, if you're 3 months in, 6 months in, a year in, and you're having a few different issues, and you're still drinking coffee, or you've drank coffee religiously for most of your life, maybe give it a shot of, titrating and maybe giving it up and seeing, how you feel.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't want people to, unnecessarily give up something they really enjoy. I mean, if you're drinking coffee and it doesn't seem to have any negative effects for you, and it's not creating a problem, I don't know that you need to give it up. But it's good to know that, like Justin said, there's a lot of natural substances in the coffee that aren't particularly good for us. So let's say it's at least mildly toxic to human beings. It also contains anti-nutrients, which is probably something we should mention in every video. And then some coffee's processed, and sometimes there's chemical residues from the processing, or mold spores. I know Dave Osprey made a big deal about that, and some people are really sensitive to mold. So back to the anti-nutrients, Justin mentioned phytic acid, and I like to stress the fact that all these plant foods that they're always telling us we should eat, everything from fake meat to spinach or whatever, tend to contain phytic acid, and phytic acid will actually bind with nutrients and not allow them to be absorbed by your body. So you think you're eating something healthy, and then you're going to get anywhere from like a 20% to 100% reduction in a particular nutrient because the phytic acid binds to it and it passes right through you and you don't get to absorb it. Consequently, you mentioned oxalates. I don't remember what the oxalate content of coffee is, but oxalic acid or oxalates are something that sometimes the body can't get rid of as much as we're consuming, and then it deposits them typically in the form of crystals, and that accounts for about 80% of kidney stones in the US. And I know BNS was saying in India it's even higher. It's like over 90% are from oxalates. And typically we get those oxalates from plant-based foods. Our body does make some oxalic acid, but as you can imagine, the body tends to regulate its systems very tightly. And then when we put things in our body like oxalate or sugar or whatever to an excessive amount, then the body has trouble dealing with it. And that's where we get illness. So I like to refresh that sort of concept because I see commercials for plant foods all the time, where it's orange juice or coffee or spinach or whatever, and it's like these things are so good for you, and they never talk about the chemicals in them that are bad for us. It never comes up in a commercial. You never see it on the package. So it's important for people to realize that just because it's a plant and just because it's in the produce section at your store doesn't mean it's necessarily optimal for you. Much as almost all plants are at least mildly toxic to us, especially native or natural plants. So anything else about coffee?
If you enjoy it, that's fine. And I think it goes without saying, but there's different experiments of what you're putting in your coffee too, which Tom alluded. Look, there's a difference between drinking a small cup of espresso, a French press, a cold brew, um, and a frappuccino from everyone's favorite mermaid. you know,
Right.
and those are all kind of different. But watch those sugar alcohols as well, which should be another video that we do just on
Yeah,
sugar
the
alcohols,
sweeteners. Right.
because
Right.
especially if you're trying to um, work on your insulin resistance, even though you're not going to have obvious blood sugar spikes, it actually still spikes insulin, the sugar alcohols. So do be cautious of that. I know the monk fruit, switching to stevia, if you were a huge, uh, sugar person, that's a step in the right direction, but it can impede, some healing, and you and your coach or whomever, ways you're working through your carnivore journey can assist you with all that little nuance.
Yep. It's a good point. It's good to get away from the sweeteners at some point. Most people find some benefit in that. So, all right, we got anything left to say about coffee, Justin?
No, I think the great Conholio's gone silent.
Oh, good. All right.
He's calmed
Well,
down.
I'm glad he's at ease. And I want to thank everybody out there for watching. Really appreciate the views. We appreciate the subscriptions. It really helps us. Leave us your comment. Tell us your experience with coffee. Tell us about videos you'd like to see us do or something you'd like us to research and maybe explain. And until next time, eat some meat, feel better, and whatever you do,
Don't
don't
drink
fall down
coffee.
the cornholio.
Cornholio.